Hi, and welcome to Only a Movie. In this first episode, we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman. And there are going to be spoilers, so heads up about that, as we are going to be discussing the whole movie and particularly the themes and ideas that the movie bring up and how those potentially relate to our own quest for meaning and significance in life. Joining me are Penny Crosby and Trevor Duke, and I'm Michael Whistler. Was Robert McKee right when he claimed that a culture cannot evolve without honest, powerful storytelling? Was poet Carl Sandburg onto something when he claimed that Hollywood is the foremost educational institution on earth? Can movies today transcend mere entertainment and help us make sense of life? This is our attempt to look at movies and how they succeed or fail at fulfilling the human longing for meaning. Or something like that. So in this particular episode, we thought we would cover Wonder Woman because a lot of people have been really looking forward to this movie and hoping that finally DC could pull off a really good movie other than Batman, and in particular, a female-led movie. So I gather consensus for us is we like the movie.
Yeah.
I love the movie.
It was awesome. The fact that they never called her Wonder Woman was awesome. They called her by her name the entire movie.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I particularly found fascinating the hero's journey that being retold through Diana's journey, being there isolated in her own environment with her own people, the Amazons, and then how the outside world sort of collides with that, and she's pulled out into this journey into the broader world. Interesting that at key points, at two particular key points in the movie, it is loss, it is death that propels significant change and advancement in her character. So I'd be curious to sort of maybe start there and see what you guys' thoughts are on this notion that it's loss and death that brings about realization and change for Diana as she becomes the superhero that she's capable of being but doesn't necessarily know yet that she is at the beginning of the story.
She took that energy of losing someone and doing good and not getting upset and like killing mankind. She didn't do that. She did the opposite. So for me, it was very powerful because we lose someone. Oftentimes people get angry. They might go off and kill the whole neighborhood.
Jeez.
Well, I'm just talking about what I would do if I lost somebody that was very, very close to me. You know, like if they had to kill themselves to save mankind or get killed because somebody was, invading their territory. We tend to get angry and do the opposite, where she just went and like saved mankind through her well, it wasn't really anger, it was good energy from losing people. So
I didn't really think about the hero's journey in the sense of the time of loss, but it does make a lot of sense. Her aunt, General Antiope, when she died, you see a shift in her mindset, that she didn't feel that she belonged only on Thermosia, that she belonged out in the world protecting humankind. Right.
There's that call out of what is her ordinary world into the special world driven by that loss. Yeah.
And before then, she had never experienced loss. Mm-hmm. So that was her first time experiencing loss, and that was her first time she experienced attack when the Germans came in and started attacking her homeland because they were going after Steve Trevor. But in doing so, they attacked her own people. The Amazons were born and raised to protect mankind. Mm-hmm. And I think seeing the death of one of the greatest soldiers of Thermosia, who was also her aunt, was just even more motivation to finally leave. Towards the end of the film, when Steve Trevor dies, there was a lot of conflict there. It wasn't exactly a quick turning point. Before he died, there was a lot of confusion of whether she believed that humankind was even worth saving at that point anymore.
Right.
And so his death and what it meant to humankind, he chose to sacrifice his life for the betterment of all people. And that opened her eyes to that. You can argue that people aren't worth or deserve saving, but then you see these moments, these silver linings where, you know what, maybe they are. You know, maybe it isn't this blanket statement, you know, and maybe they don't have it all right, but we need to give them the opportunity to make those choices. And you start to see that shift in your mind, that it's not as simple as black and white, as good and evil, that there's this mixture of both in everybody. What she's trying to do is to allow people And at least that's what I got from it, is allow people to have the opportunity to choose good.
While you're talking, I see that she had that to be that kind of person from a little girl. She, was so curious as to, I want to learn to fight. I want to learn to go into battle. She was so mesmerized by the God killer. She had that in her from a very young age. So like when her aunt did die, her aunt was like, go. So it planted a seed for her already, like the whisper thing, like you're getting ready to go on a different journey.
Right.
And when that time comes, you go.
And there's a great level of idealism, I think, in her perspective throughout the movie. The key moment of the end of Act 2, where really she hits the low point, is when that idealism is called into question. When she so firmly believes that if she kills Ares, everything will be overturned, and then she kills who she thinks is Ares, and then
why isn't it starting?
and it's not happening, and then suddenly everything's kind of called into question. There is this complexity now to the world that she exists in. But I love that question of a lot of these really big comic book movies deal with, which is this question of is the human race worth saving? It's a little different in this context because I think there's something to be said about the feminine perspective that the film takes, even though it deals very directly with violence and warfare. It's fascinating to me to see a female lead character and a female director sort of bring to that front of that balancing act of talking about the negative sides of the human race, but then at the conclusion of the film in a lot of ways is, but I believe in love.
And then there was that video essay that you were talking about. What was that called again?
A fascinating video essay that I came across a couple weeks ago. I'll have to look it up and put the link below. Particular essay was dealing with this idea of this trope in a lot of sci-fi and fantasy movies of what this guy called Born Sexy Yesterday. And this idea of the amazing, female character, but that basically has like the mind of like a 5-year-old. So I was curious to see how Wonder Woman was going to navigate that world, and I think they did a good job of staying away from those kinds of things, because at so many different points in the movie, she might have cultural clash and not understand the culture of the world that she's walked into, which is very much a part of Hero's journey sort of structure. Yeah. But it's not because she's dumb. It's not because she's somehow like a child.
Right.
It's just literally learning this new culture. She's still oftentimes the smartest person in the room.
Exactly, and I love that about the film was she didn't just bring strength. She brought intelligence, and she brought a new mindset, and she challenged the people of the world that she was visiting. Our world that we think is normal is her special world.
Right.
And she goes in and she challenges the status quo. I think there's so much value in that film and what she brought to the story and how relevant it is into our world today, in the sense of what leadership looks like.
I think it's particularly fascinating when the group is potentially going to disband, right? Because, they said it was a 2-day mission, and, so everybody can go their separate ways kind of thing. And they all kind of decide to stay.
Stick around.
Yeah, but in particular, the one guy who was going to, maybe you guys be better off without me, and her response of, well, who's going to sing? Yeah. To me, it stands out as this is leadership that sees the unique value of each person, not just as a cog that fits into this broader machine, but the individual value of each human being.
When they were discussing the armistice, Steve Trevor was coming in and he was saying, this is a trap, we know they have these bombs, and they said, well, that's just a sacrifice that we're going to have to take because this is the way we're going to end the war. And she comes in and she goes, how can you say that? How can you sit here behind your desk and call yourself a leader while you're going to willingly let your own people die? I mean, again, she's putting in the individuality of the people that she believes that we are here to protect. And she goes, how can you look at this in terms of a win-loss? If you're going to lose people, that's a loss. That to me was another example of just a powerful leadership.
Not only that, she showed them that she could take care of them. So like when they were in that bar and they were having the fight and stuff like that, and some guy came over with a gun. I believe he came over with a gun.
Right, yeah.
And she like, yeah. So she showed that she could take care of them, and I think that was, you know, also shows a strong leader, that you're able to take care of the people that follow behind you.
One of the things that it stands out to me as an interesting sort of complex conversation to have is this notion of what role does war play? Like Ares wants to present this idea that war offers humanity the opportunity to rise up and either prove themselves great or destroy themselves. And really, they've not proven themselves great repeatedly, so they should just destroy themselves, because Zeus should never have made mankind. There's a lot of jealousy in there from the Judeo-Christian perspective. Ares really, especially in this context, seems to stand in for the idea of Satan. I'm jealous of the human race. Why did God create the human race?
Yeah.
But then there's also the Amazons were created, right, to protect the human race. But they are a race of warriors too.
Yeah.
So there's still this war notion. I find it interesting because I'm a pacifist, and so I'm like wondering, like, when is the time to turn the other cheek, and when do we fight? I'm curious because the movie ultimately concludes with this notion of Ares and Diana fighting, and this notion of not having to be a choice of, well, they're not worthy and they should just be destroyed. It can be a choice of, well, they're also worthy of love, you know, believing in the value of loving, the constructive power that love has. So I'm curious about your reactions to that sort of dichotomy, that struggle, and even the potentially ironic nature of the warrior learning to love in that sense. At the heart of a warrior even existing is the assumption that at some point
Then we're going to have a war.
we're going to have a war. We're going to have to fight. Is that contradictory within the film, or is that just reflective of our reality? I'm just curious about.
I mean,
how you feel.
I would take it as war teaches us a lesson. Are we going to have war? Yeah. Do we need to have war? Yeah, we need to have some wars. But, you know, there's always something that's unnecessary about it. But when we're fighting for what's right, we have to have a war in order to make things peaceful again, and people can sway, you know. They can sway and touch the snowflakes. We have to, because there's evil all around. The evil isn't going anywhere.
Right.
So, yeah, we war against evil.
If your only tool is a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. Does the fact that Diana and really all of the Amazons are from, you know, inception brought up as warriors, do they see every situation ultimately as one that must be resolved by violence? I don't know that there's a clear answer to that.
So you have the Amazonians, or Amazons. They were created to protect humankind, but they want peace.
Right.
So they stay on their island, and they don't protect humankind.
Right, yeah.
So you could say, oh, well, that's what they were created to do, but they actually chose not to. But was that the right choice?
Right.
Because you see that conflict with Diana and her mother. Her mother wants her to stay on the island where it's safe. Diana feels compelled to protect humankind. By staying on the island, are you protecting humankind? No. But are you protecting yourselves, and are you living peacefully? Right. Yes. So which one's the right one?
You can't have it both ways. You can't have both safety and fulfill your calling, as it were, as a protector of the human race if you are strictly within your bubble, which again is very much hero's journey kind of stuff, because it's like, again, you have a longing to do something, you know, you're meant to fulfill something bigger, and where you're at doesn't necessarily allow that until you're extricated. I mean, you're happy where you are and all that kind of stuff, but then there's something that pulls you out of that world.
So for the mom, she doesn't want her daughter going anywhere, because she knows that she's thinking that her daughter is going to get killed, that her daughter is not going to come back. Ares is going to defeat her. With the aunt, she's the one that can kill him. I'm going to train her. I'm going to sneak and train her. Is it right that they are trained to be warriors but stay on their own island? Yeah, they use when necessary, I feel.
They were called, it seems, when Steve Steve Trevor comes onto the island, Diana does feel called. The Amazons don't.
Right.
The Amazons
because
saying,
she's like the child, she's the one.
yeah, but not many people know that she's the one. It's just one of those questions where it really becomes, well, which one is the right choice? Was Diana going? Because we're talking about the idea of war or peace, but in this situation, peace means staying on your island and not doing anything.
Right.
And war
For them,
means
yeah.
and
For
then,
them, yeah.
and then war means fighting, but you're fighting to protect humankind. In that situation, what is the right choice? And I'm not saying anything. I'm just kind of throwing out that question.
Right.
Yeah.
For most of us, we're not necessarily going to experience quite something like Diana does and become a superhero. What I'm struck by is the notion that loss does drive us into new territory, and loss is a part of life. Loss is something we all experience at some point or another. So I wonder if there's just a great amount of, for me at least, connecting with Diana's journey because of that. It's just part of the human experience that we do lose and how we respond to that. But I wonder what else stands out. What stands out to you guys as I personally connect with this. This seems meaningful to me.
I'm here thinking about my grandmother. Before she passed away, I was in a bad place. I wasn't the best human being. When she died, it drove me to want to be better with my life, to carry on her honor. So that's how I ended up with the river. Yeah, so I get it can make people do good things and it can also make people do bad things. But it's all how you take it, and it's all about what you believe in your heart. If you decide that you're going to rash out or you're going to pull yourself together and say, okay, what good can come out of this? I connect with her in that.
She's a badass. And I say that.
And that personally connects with you,
Yeah.
just because you feel like I'm a badass.
No, I don't, but I recognize badassery when I see it,
Yeah.
all right? No, but she is. And it's not just because she is tough and strong and whooping ass everywhere she goes, but she does it with wisdom and intelligence. There's a lot of grace to her. in
Yeah,
the way
she's a lot of grace.
Yeah, and that's really what struck me was, here's this really action-packed movie, phenomenal story, and the lead, while being strong and knocking everyone out, there's still this element of grace with her and connection that she has with the people in her life. The way she connects with everyone, as we were talking about with that one character who said, "Oh, you guys don't need me," and she goes, "Well, who's gonna sing to us?"
Right.
I had the same exact reaction. It really spoke to me. Just how much she saw everybody and the value that they brought, even when they felt like they couldn't bring anything. She said, "No, you do bring something," and
His
that.
voice is terrible. By the way.
But she knew what he needed,
Right.
and he needed that connection. And she brought it for him, and that to me was just really powerful.
We watch these things, and some people might say it's only a movie, but there's things in it that we could apply to our lives, like wanting to do better, wanting to fight for mankind, to stay alive, and wanting to, communicate with each other better and not yell at each other.
What?
Like how I yell at Trevor all the time.
He told me to park on the curb, so I did.
Treating humans better, and like you said, with grace,
Yeah.
Or scene that I really liked, which was with the chief. And the chief was a smuggler, and he was smuggling for both sides. He would make deals with the Germans, make deals with the Americans, whatever they needed, whether it was foods or drinks or whatever it is they needed. He was about making money. And Diana's talking to the chief. She goes, "So whose side are you on?" And he goes, I'm on neither side. I'm on my own side." She goes, "Well, where does that put you?" And he goes, "It puts me in freedom." And she's really questioning his loyalty and his allegiance and whether he's empathetic to anything. He basically tells her, "Listen, I had my land taken away from me, so this is what I have. I have the ability to be free to go on both sides."
Right.
She goes, "Well, who took your land?" And he points to
points
Steve
to-
Trevor, and he
yeah.
goes, "These people." And these people are the good guys now in this story.
Yeah.
And it really just paints a picture of good and evil being in everybody. And even though it wasn't a turning point for Diana, I think it definitely painted a picture for her of how complex this is.
Yeah.
She knows Steve Trevor as a good guy, and now she's hearing that, oh, it was his people that took land from this guy. that belonged to him. How does that make sense? You know, and you started seeing the gears turn as to, well, what does this all really mean?
Yeah, there were key little scenes like that. I think that helped juxtapose the whole the war and the violence and the struggle. You know, whether you're talking about that or the scene where they're dancing and the snow starts falling and she's asking Steve Trevor, you know, is this what people do when there aren't wars to fight? Because her existence has been train, be prepared, be prepared.
How do you guys feel about the love aspect of the movie, about how she chose to love and not hate, not to kill mankind, but chose to love them?
Again, it's like a complex, interesting sort of journey there, because on the one hand, there's a lot of love and grace that she presents to a lot of people, but there's also the constant, like, but, you know, somebody's shooting at me, I have to fight you. You know, there's kind of both sides constantly battling for territory. I'm a sucker for a story that ultimately puts love as its core value. I mean, that's, for me, that's the core aspect of what makes Harry Potter so magical, is ultimately love is the most magical power in that whole story. It's what saved Harry Potter, and it's what brings him back to life at the end.
What?
Spoiler alert.
Damn it.
Like, it can be perceived as as maybe it's sappy, you know, the love aspect.
Yeah, I was thinking like that wasn't sappy.
Yeah.
Especially for, you know, I told you guys yesterday when we saw the movie that you guys watch a chick flick. It could have been sappy, but it was not. When she said those words, very powerful. It was like almost as if she didn't have a gender. There was no, you know, she just chose love because that's what's inside of her. That's her spirit.
And the type of love that they show in this film, obviously there's some romantic love in there.
Right.
The core value of love that was expressed in the film was a deeper love. And the Greek word is agape, you know, God's love for mankind. Her love for mankind, for people that she didn't know, but just the idea of people. And allowing them to make a choice. And knowing that people are broken, they are not perfect, but she loves them anyway. And she knows that they're not perfect, but they have the ability to love as well as the ability to hate. Yeah. But they have both.
Like Dr. Poison.
Yes.
Scene where she could have taken that tractor or whatever that thing was and threw it on top of her, but she didn't.
And I think the fact that her mask came off and you see
you see her,
the damage.
You see her scars. You see her flaws.
Yeah, and it was not even their flaws, is that she was abused. So she may be hateful, but someone hated her. And so what Diana saw in her was that she experienced loss too. Just like how I'm experiencing loss right now. This woman experienced loss as well. In those moments, you can choose to, like you were saying, you can choose to allow that to make yourself a better person, to love more, or kind of take you more on a destructive path. Yeah. But she was saying people go through really difficult times, and those situations are not easy situations, and I want to love these people and work with them rather than destroy them. And I think that was really powerful.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. And we'd love to hear from you about what you found particularly meaningful, what you connected with in the Wonder Woman movie. If you have any suggestions for other movies that we should watch and discuss and sort of dig into meaningful ideas presented in those movies, let us know. Comment below. We're always happy to take suggestions. And we hope that you continue to watch movies and engage them thoughtfully, and that you'll go out and show the love and grace that Wonder Woman showed.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Yes, well, right here, click on Trevor's face and subscribe.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.